All right, I think we're live. We're recording, or whatever you want to call it. We're recording, not necessarily live. But Pillars of Community, Billy Garish. I'm so happy and thrilled and excited to be sitting digitally with a local legend. That's not; those are not just my words. But Arch Campbell, welcome.
Billy, good to be with you.
Yes.
Good to be anywhere, actually. So what the hell? Here we are.
Here we are.
And we're on Zoom.
We are.
So I get a little distance from you.
Oh, yeah.
I like to be a little
like 6 miles.
Self-protective here. That's all.
Right.
This Zoom thing is great. I do a podcast every other week on Zoom now. It's amazing. At the movies with Arch Campbell and Lou Katz and a cast of thousands. Lou Katz was on Wash FM for years and years. And like you, he has a studio in his basement. And when the virus broke out, he threw me out of the studio, but said we could still do it on Zoom. So I kind of like this. I don't have to leave the house.
You got no excuse to be. You can't blame it on traffic. Cast of thousands, cost of millions. What's that from? That's Cecil B Demille.
Must be, yeah. Cecil B Demille. They say the greatest show on earth is the worst movie ever to win Best Picture at the Oscars.
How about that?
Good old Cecil B Demille. You ever seen Sunset Boulevard?
I'm not. I've heard of it. I've not seen it.
Oh, you got to watch that. He's in that.
I'm making a list.
Sunset Boulevard. That's the one with Gloria Swanson, where she's the old movie star, and William Holden comes into her house to escape some guys from a finance company, and she invites him to stay and rewrite her script that she's going to take to Cecil B Demille and get him to film her comeback, because she was a big silent film star. And instead she goes nuts and sexually preys on William Holden, and there's a great scene where she goes back to Paramount to see Mr. DeMille.
Yes, Mr. DeMille's in there. He's
he's there. He's there working.
He's playing himself.
Cecil B. DeMille, and that is where the line "I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille" comes from. Sunset Boulevard, 1950.
Greatest Show on Earth. Was that? What was that about? Was that Jesus Christ?
That was about the circus.
Okay.
The circus, and they get on the circus train. You remember they used to be the circus train?
I do.
Everybody lived on the circus train, and they would go from town to town, and they have all the lions and the animals, and the circus train derails and turns over, and all the animals get loose, and the people are mangled and killed, and
so you
the greatest show on earth.
You didn't like it, or you liked it, or a lot of people didn't like it, or it was like at the Oscar.
It's just considered the cheesiest movie ever to win Best Movie, which is saying something, because a lot of the best movies, 52, I think.
Good memory.
1952. I just read about it the other day.
So did you see that growing up?
I think I saw it on. I think I walked in and it was on TV once. And I walked out.
I understand. So last time I saw you, very like serendipitous sort of meeting was I was running and you were walking down at the bottom of Connecticut Avenue.
Yeah, and, I'm taking my walk. Now I'm an old guy. It got out on Facebook. I just had a birthday, and I thought, well, I'm getting so old. I want to kind of play my age down. Well, somebody posted, "Happy 75th birthday, Arch Campbell." then I go over to Columbia to play golf, and the matchmaker, Greg, sees me. "Oh, Arch, it's your birthday. You're 75." Let's kind of play this down. So because I'm so old, I do a lot of walking just to keep moving and, keep my brain going and my body going.
Amen.
And I try to watch what I eat. And so I'm walking. Here comes this guy. He looks like a steam engine. He's taken up about half of the sidewalk, got a t-shirt on, just drenched in sweat. And I'm thinking, man, that guy is really doing it. And who is it but you out for your run?
It was
running down everybody.
I was looking at you and I was like, I'm a student.
Who's that old man?
I'm a student of.
I need to be sure I don't knock him down.
I wouldn't end well. I was like, I'm a student of like features of people. I'm like, I think because you had a hat on and a mask on. But
mask,
I think that's Arch. And I think we talked about I ran into you at the Shack. When you were with Owen, right?
Owen, my pal.
Yeah. And I'm like, I think it came up there that you're at 8101. So I was like, this could be Arch. And I was like, hey, that was on Oscar Sunday, I think.
8101 Connecticut Avenue.
There you go.
It's right across the street from 8100, which is the assisted living place. So we call this the next to the last stop. The last stop right across the street.
Yeah.
8100, the Hyatt assisted living. This is just 8101, old people's condos.
You stick where you're at, all right? You stay on that side of the street, unless you're going to Columbia.
That's right. Columbia,
you come back home.
Well, we also call this Columbia East because half the people in here belong to Columbia, and all of us march across the street to play golf a couple of times a week. So, there is that.
Talk about the circus train.
Right. Exactly.
My mom is her name's Denise Garish, and so I'm in the Hamlet. Okay, I grew up here in the Hamlet, and she still has a house a couple blocks from me, and she is today, matter of fact, heading over to 8101. Candy Somerville?
Sure, I do.
Yeah,
swimmer. So, she's a swimmer. Love her.
Yeah, she's 92, I think.
Wow.
And she has one of the few condos, you tell me if I'm wrong, over there 8101 that has a staircase. And like stairs at her age are probably not the best match.
Yeah.
So she might turn that over. My mom is interested maybe in investing in there. So you might get my mom as a neighbor.
Well, good.
More the merrier.
Those are nice units, those staircase units. They're big, but I got a 1-floor deal.
So your wife's, is it Gina?
Yeah.
Cool. How long you guys been married?
We've been married 27 years. We got married New Year's Day, 1994. Second marriage for both of us.
Cool.
I talked to her father the other day. I said, you're old when your trophy wife is 66. He didn't think it was funny. Then I said, well, you're old when your son-in-law is 75. He didn't think that was funny either.
Oh, boy.
He doesn't think anything I say is funny. So I just plow right ahead.
If you lose your sense of humor, you've lost a lot. So I'm glad
I met Gina. I'm from San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah.
And I love going down there.
Yeah.
And many years ago, I had a good friend who I had known in high school, and he wound up here in Washington working for who was he work? Not Comcast, ComSat. He was a satellite guy. And in high school, he had been a really outstanding athlete and scholar. And he got an appointment to the Air Force Academy.
Yep.
So I ran into him later, and I said, we were all so impressed that you went to the Air Force Academy. And I figured that you probably flew planes in Vietnam. He says, well, actually, they recruited me for the Air Force baseball team. And all during Vietnam, I played baseball for the Air Force Academy. So So we met up, we played golf together, and we'd
beautiful.
grown up a block apart down in San Antonio. So we
Mhm.
said, let's go visit our mothers and we'll go play some golf. And his mother had switched churches. And I went into this church and there was an assistant minister. And I thought it would be some old bag. And it was this beautiful woman. This beautiful woman. I said, who is that? I got to meet her. And the mothers, they kind of laughed and cackled. And my friend's mother went to her and said, this man wants to meet you. So I went back to San Antonio as a result of George Michael, whom I worked with for years. George was in a movie, 8 Seconds, and they shot some of it down there. So they flew me down back there to do a story on George. And while I was there, I called this woman up, Gina, and we went out and lightning struck, and we got married and she moved up here.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
How long when meeting till marriage, if you don't mind?
6 months.
That's kind of my track.
6 months, maybe 7.
I'm recently engaged in December, and we're looking to, hopefully be at the altar this summer.
All in.
It's her second marriage. I'm 39. It's my first. She was in a tough sort of relationship for too long. I just say too long, but for about a decade. She has 4 kids.
Yeah.
And
so I saw you with those kids the other day.
Yeah, exactly right.
You were taking them out. Good for you.
We had so much fun. I taught for 14 years. And I love it. At modern day, I really realized the voice inside spoke a lot to children. That's kind of how I was born.
Mm-hmm.
And very lucky, blessed to be with Debbie, and her kids are just angels. So
how'd you meet her?
I met her through friends, actually, at a party for, matter of fact, of her father, an anniversary of him, or a celebration of him overcoming lung cancer.
Oh, wow. Great.
A couple years ago. And yeah.
And you knew her father?
Somewhat. Not that well, I know her brother.
How are you getting along now? Now that you're gonna marry his daughter.
Well, I haven't brought up the whole trophy wife thing yet. But she is my trophy. She is my trophy.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
All right.
How'd you get into movies, or was it from like when you're a kid? I mean, who doesn't like a movie, right? So did you watch? Here is
the story, and I'm starting to write it up. I'm trying to write a memoir, and I better hurry because I'm getting so damn old, and I'm forgetting more than I remember. But basically 2 things. When I was growing up, television was what the iPhone is today. And we got a television. And in those days, to fill the schedule, stations played a lot of movies. And my father loved the movies. And we bonded over a TV show, Shock Theater, which showed all of the great horror movies from the early 30s of Universal Pictures, Dracula and Frankenstein and The Invisible Man and The Wolf Man. And I loved those movies. And as I grew up, I discovered that I had the ability to get on stage and talk. And 2 high school teachers kind of took me under their wing. And both of them said, you ought to go into radio. So I got into radio while I was going to college. I went off to the University of Texas in Austin. I worked for KTBC, which was owned by LBJ. And we would see him when he was president. He would come in there, and afterwards, Lady Bird, they were all there. And a friend moved to Dallas and got a job with a big station, WFAA, which had AM, FM, and TV. And she got me a job up there, and I managed to jump from radio to television. And I joined the television news department. And I kind of found my way to reporting feature stories. You know, the last story on the news was always something funny, you know, the quirky restaurants or guys riding horses to work or all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. And one day we got a new news director, and he would walk in every morning and start screaming at us. And one morning he walks in and screams, "I want a movie reviewer. Who wants to do it?" And the place went silent. And so I raised my hand. I said, "I'll do it." And American Graffiti had opened that week. So I went to see it, did a review on the air. He comes in the next morning and says, "Arch, you are now the station movie reviewer." That's how I got to be a television news movie reviewer. And then a guy that I had worked with, you know, you don't realize at the time, but your whole life is a network. A guy I worked with went to LA, and a guy was coming from LA to DC. And he says, "Hire this guy. He does features." So they hired me for WRC. And after 4 or 5 years of that, they were really just looking to reboot the whole station. And I said, "You know, I used to do movie reviews." So they said, "Okay, do that, do that." In fact, actually, in Washington, the event that caused movie reviews to be important on the television news was in 1979, the long-awaited Star Trek movie premiered at the MacArthur Theater on MacArthur Boulevard. And the entire cast of Star Trek was here in Washington for that. And then they had a big reception afterwards at the Air and Space Museum. And that kind of started a couple of decades of major film premieres here in Washington. So when I covered the Star Trek premiere, it was really the first of its kind. Jack Valenti ran the Motion Pictures Producers Association, and he saw that he could use film premieres as a way to lobby Congress and make friends on Capitol Hill. And I got in on that, and those kind of things became important on the news. And so I worked 32 years at Channel 4 and another 8 at Channel 7, just as a result of that. And so basically the answer is I raised my hand.
Yeah.
And I raised my hand because I grew up and I remembered my father's movie love and the way I loved watching movies with him.
Did you have one? Do you have a movie in particular that stands out that you and your dad used to watch? What was that show you said? Or sorry.
Well, Shock Theater.
Shock Theater.
Tired of the everyday routine, ever want to get away from it all, then prepare yourself for a shock. Actually, he and I liked a movie, I think it was called House of Horrors.
Yeah.
And the bad guy was the Creeper. And we would talk about the Creeper a lot. And one of his friends, he and I would refer to as the Creeper.
Dr. Terror's House of Horrors?
No, I think it was just House of Horrors. It was an old film made in the 40s. And the Creeper was played by a guy named Rondo Hatton. You can look him up. It's a very sad story. He had some kind of degenerative disease, I think.
Yeah.
And he didn't live very long. He only made 2 or 3 movies, but he was the House of Horrors. There it is. Wow, love it.
Creeper.
Meet the Creeper. So the Creeper is one. He also liked
Rondo Hatton.
I told you.
Yeah, you're on it.
He liked the Frank Capra movies a lot,
Wow.
and particularly "It's a Wonderful Life," which 50 years ago, 60 years ago, was not as prominent as it is now. Television stations would show "It's a Wonderful Life" Christmas Eve, and that was it. And now, for a while there were entire cable channels that's all they showed. So he liked those as well. But The Creeper comes to mind.
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't seen The Creeper in years. I'd like to watch it.
Yeah, so would I. I love It's a Wonderful Life as certainly like cemented itself as like the movie on Christmas Eve, right?
Yeah, right.
Bells ringing. It's such a cool story of the struggle of Jimmy Stewart and the angel is trying to get its wings.
Yeah.
So The Creeper, and you said Shock Theater, and then you did Every Other Day is Halloween or something like that, right?
Oh yeah, that's well, I'm friends with Count Gore Duvall.
Yes.
Count Gore is a longtime friend of mine, and he hosted Creature Feature on Channel 20. And one of my first stories in Washington was to come to Channel 20 and do a story about this announcer dressing up as a vampire. And he had some crazy shows over there. Had a coffin. And the story I did, I think my story is in that DVD. He locks me in his coffin, and that's the end of the story. They had a lot of wild nights. A lot of his interns have told me all kind of stories that went on producing that show. And they had a lot of fun there.
Fun. So is it?
And he does it in his basement now.
Oh, really?
He's like you and me.
Yeah.
When he left Channel 20, he took the set with him and he negotiated the rights to the name, Count Gore. Count Gore Duvall. People think Gore Duvall is a play on Gore Vidal.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, he said he would drive to work and he would go by the Duvall Funeral Home in Georgetown. So that's why he's Count Gore Duvall. He's a good friend. He recently he's been hosting these huge shows at the AFI, and sometimes he invites me to come over and host with him.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, he did. He hosted
Dick Drizel?
Dick Drizel.
Cool.
He hosted a screening of Young Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never heard so much laughter in my life. It was now because of the virus, nobody really knows what the future of the theatrical movie experience is going to be. So if they're all memories to me, and my memory that night when he showed Young Frankenstein is the best theatrical experience of my life because people were screaming with laughter.
Can't beat laughter.
No.
Was that when the movie just came out, or was it after?
Oh no, this is 35 years after it. Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's 35 years after it opened. This is probably 3 years ago. He would play old horror movies at the AFI in Silver Spring, host them. People would sign up, come over there, fill the theaters.
Oh, cool.
And I'd go over there with him.
Oh, cool. Do you have a favorite genre of movie? Like you've talked a lot about like horror and like kind of creep show stuff, sort of stuff. Is that still cemented as your favorite?
Well, I kind of like that detective thriller, film noir, and they still make them. I liked Fatal Attraction, and Basic Instinct, and what was the one with Sharon, not with Sharon Stone, but with Kathleen Turner? Body Heat.
Okay.
Did you ever see Body Heat?
No.
And I like those kind of mystery movies, those kind of mystery thrillers. I tell you, a movie I like these days is Promising Young Woman.
Like it a lot.
It's like a horror movie. It's quite R-rated, quite scary. My wife walked in, and I was ashamed that she was seeing me watching it. But that's a hell of a movie. It's a revenge horror comedy.
It's funny. It's got
Get Out.
Get
Out is another
lighten
one.
it up a little bit. It's over the top. It's almost tropish, I think, of like the portrayal of the males, just like
it makes you uncomfortable. I like Get Out. Did you ever see Get Out?
No.
That's just a great movie.
Is that
Never
recent?
does what you expect.
Is that recent?
Yeah, Get Out. Yeah.
Cool.
A couple of years.
When I ran into you the other day running, I told you that Promising Young Woman is. I saw it with my fiance.
Yeah.
And you're like, I
that
hope
was a bad choice. Bad choice.
Yeah.
I think next time you should watch like When Harry Met Sally or something. Okay.
Like Titanic.
Let me know. Send me an email and I'll consult you on your next movie with her. Okay.
That's a deal. So Nomadland. Are you surprised it won Best Picture?
No, I thought it was going to win, and I thought it was an extraordinary movie, and I thought it was great because it was something new. Yeah. It mixed nonfiction, almost documentary work, with a fictional work. So many of the people in the movie are nomads, and nomads are people who, because of their circumstances, live in a van. And they live kind of a nomad life, and they take temporary jobs just to earn enough money to keep going. And they live on Social Security. And the aspect of the far West and the open spaces, and there is a scene in there where Frances McDormand goes back to the house she lived at this little mining community, and you see her walking through it and walking out of it because she didn't like being restrained. I mean, it is a way of total freedom. About 6 months ago, there was a report on the PBS NewsHour. There's a reporter there named Paul Solomon, who does business reporting. And he did a report on the big business of retrofitting vans.
Yeah.
And then as part of this, he went out and discovered and reported on the nomad community.
Yeah.
And some of them have YouTube channels. Some of them are making a little money that way.
Yeah.
And his report is really reflected in the movie Nomadland. So if you're really interested, download Paul Solomon, PBS NewsHour. So no, I wasn't surprised. I thought it was creative and original. And I think Frances McDormand is a great actress. And that director, Chloe Zhao, did an amazing job. And I think it took her quite some time to film it and put it together.
I think it crisscrossed.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Did you like it?
I saw it twice.
What'd you think?
I loved it. I think they crisscrossed a lot of the West with, like, when you say it's they're actually fiction meets nonfiction.
Right. Yeah.
All the characters, including Norm Macdonald, right? Including her in the movie, they go by their real names.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Norm, that was Norm. She played herself. She had her own name, you know, and all the cast, I believe, were quote nomads.
Many of them are nomads. Yes. And I think there's a woman who dies in the film, and that is her story. She was in the film and she died. A lot of people find it depressing.
I heard that. Somebody said that.
A lot of people say, oh, man, that's such a downer.
I don't think so.
You know, you have to open your mind.
You have to open your mind to another form of lifestyle. I think that what struck me was how happy a lot of these people were in their sort of nomad commune. It didn't they didn't seem like they were abusing drugs or alcohol. They seemed to be happy with other people who've chosen the same similar transient lifestyle.
It is about freedom.
And it's about total freedom. And remember that scene with the old guy, his name was Bob, and he talks about how his son committed suicide. And he's like, I see him on the road. I'll see you down the road. They keep saying, I'll see you down the road. It's never a farewell, because on the road, the idea of the nomadic lifestyle thing is there's not a finality to it, because you keep on moving from place to place.
Yeah, and that guy is in the report I'm talking about on PBS News by Paul Solomon. So if you want to see more of the real thing, and they reran it last night on the Judy Woodruff newscast because it's so appropriate after the Oscars.
Yeah. So that it's an interesting. I was running this morning, and it's an interesting idea of, if you keep on moving, he's like, I see my son out there, you know, on the road. If you keep moving and interacting with enough people, the chances are high that you'll find characteristics or parts of whoever it is that has departed in the people that you run into on the road.
Sure.
So it's like his son lives on. It's a cool philosophy.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
But I liked it. You know what else I watched twice is Minari.
Yeah, I liked it. A lot of people will resist it because so much of it is in Korean and it's subtitles. Ask your friend Tony Kornheiser how he likes movies with subtitles.
Like you said earlier, you got to have an open mind here, you know?
Not everyone has an open mind. I loved Minari because it actually is based on a memoir by a Korean whose family moved to Arkansas to farm and follow their dream. And in this case, to raise Korean vegetables to sell in special markets for people making Korean food. And the thing I liked about it is it never does what you expect, because it's the 80s. He's in Arkansas. You know, you expect the Klan to show up and burn a cross, and they don't. You know, they're accepted into the community. And there's one guy who's kind of a religious fanatic who spends all day Sunday dragging a cross down the road, and you think, oh, something's going to happen with him. But no, that's his character. Yeah. That's what he does on his Sundays. And he's a good friend to the farmer. And the woman who played the grandmother won the Best Supporting Actress award, Yoon Jung-yoon.
Yep.
And she was excellent.
She's a Korean legend.
Yeah, she's a big deal in Korea.
She played a powerful role and hysterical. She had no filter grandma.
Well, you told me that you are interested in literature, and as you know, any stories with 3 generations, intergenerational, is always something important. An intergenerational story has more power than just a story of one character.
Yeah, like the Odyssey.
Yeah, yeah.
Three
generations.
But and that's when I think the movie began, so to speak, is when the mother comes on this, or the grandma comes on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, it's a tough assimilation for her with the grandson and also with the dad. But eventually, you see the grandson and her have an incredible relationship of love, and it was her,
and that's that happens most often, where grandchildren and grandparents are able to bond because they don't have the same emotional burden of a parent and child.
Less pressure.
Yeah.
I was the same way with my grandfather. And then she brought the Minari, I believe, and planted it on the side of the creek.
And when it ends, you don't know if the family got back together or not.
This is true.
It's kind of left. I don't want to give away the ending, but the ending is left open to you.
You would think,
which is interesting,
right? It's after fire.
They leave it up to you.
Yeah. Remember the movie Castaway?
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorites. It's kind of.
Why do you like that?
I love the soundtrack. I love the Tom Hanks was incredible on the island.
Yeah.
Acting performance. And then just like the will of the human spirit is like, you never know what the tide will bring. So to keep your hopes up, because you got to wake up every day, and you never know what's going to be given to you, especially if you're in a desperate situation like that,
Cool.
And then in the end, one of the more emotional scenes of maybe any movie that I've seen is when Tom Hanks sees Helen Hunt and she's married again. And Helen Hunt comes out and they're talking in the rain. I don't know if you remember that. And they're just both don't know what to say, because it's no one's fault. It's just is what it is. And she's started another life with another husband, thinking that Tom Hanks has been passed for 5 years.
Yeah.
And then the cool thing, why it popped in my head, was that the ending of that movie is kind of open-ended, because it kind of ends with him at a crossroads, literal and figurative crossroads in somewhere in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Because remember the package with the feather on it?
Right.
He kept this one package, I believe, as purpose, because he works for FedEx, right? So he's like, I need to have one package that I'm not going to open, but I'm going to hold on to give me purpose and inspiration to get off this island. And that was one of the reasons that I think he kept his spirit up.
Cool.
Delivered that package to this lady, and it kind of hints that maybe they get together because she's attractive redhead.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
Cool.
That's a good one. All right. Thanks for coming on. Chit chat about the movie. I mean, it's lunchtime. I could keep going for a while. Maybe we'll do it again.
Well, good luck with your podcast. Where does the podcast exist?
iTunes, Spotify, the Android, everywhere.
And what's the name of this podcast?
Pillars of Community.
Pillars of Community.
The idea is you're a pillar unto yourself. You've worked on yourself. This is my classics coming in here. You worked on yourself and identified yourself well enough that you become a pillar, and then that other people can rely upon and be inspired by.
Well, I'm sitting on a pillar. Does that count?
You're an extension of it.
Hey, good luck to you, Billy. It's great talking to you.
Pleasure. I'll see you around, and enjoy your golf game.
It's in there somewhere.
All right, Art.
It's down there with the cicadas, I think.
Oh boy, I haven't seen.
I haven't either. I think they're kidding us about that.
We're gonna hold out one more.
They don't know.
One more year. All right.
Okay, be well, Billy.
You're well. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.